If we could stop scoring so many goals so my videos don't have to be so long, that'd be great. What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another match analysis. This time it's the Carabao Cup, League Cup, whatever the hell you want to call it, Cup, semi-final first leg analysis. We're going to crack on with this video because there's a lot to get through. So we're going to start off with the team first. As expected, we had Mahrez in net for Ederson. I wasn't expecting Ederson to start in the FA Cup, to be fair, but he was back in this game, and he didn't have a lot to do, really, did he? One save. Pretty much it. Eric Garcia ended up starting too, as Company was given a full rest. I was expecting to see Company in this game, but we didn't. We saw Eric Garcia, so always nice to see Eric Garcia. And we saw Kevin De Bruyne start in this game. I wasn't expecting him to do 2 games out of 2. I was expecting to see Phil Foden do 2 games out of 2. However, wasn't 2 starts out of 2 for Phil Foden there. We saw Zinchenko in ahead of Delph, but went with a strong side. Burton, they went with their strongest team, as expected. They had Ben Turner in at the centre-back. They also had Boyce up front, along with Akins too. And I imagine that Burton were looking to try and stay in this game for as long as possible, be defensive, but try and be expressive and try and make something happen. And they were going to need some luck in this game too. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, but we'll get on with Burton's effort in a moment. But I wasn't underestimating them in this game. I wanted to get through to the final. We'd come so far, they'd come so far. They've done brilliantly to get here, by the way. Burton, absolutely full respect for their run, and getting to the semi-final is no easy feat to be able to do that, and they managed to do that, so well done to them, brilliant. But we'll crack on with the analysis of this game now. So 5 minutes in, so simple. A David Silva cross from the left middle. There's so much space there throughout the whole game, it's ridiculous. That's kind of what went wrong for Burton there. Ball just goes in. Kevin De Bruyne isn't known for heading goals. Managed to get in between 2 centre-backs because the cross was so good from David Silva. Just nods it in. Simple as that. 1-0. Thing for Burton is you're going to struggle when you've got David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne in the middle and you've got them making things happen. No team in the world going to be able to cope with that. Never mind a team from League One. And so when you're getting torn apart by that, you're simply just going to admire it. I would if it was Manchester City and we were playing a team that was just on the next level and they were just making things happen. I'd just go, there you go, fair credit. But for Burton, they had a go. They had a real go in this game. Unlike other teams that I've seen from the Premier League, we won't name names, but teams, I can accuse them of not having a go, just turning up and trying to be defensive. They're not doing anything in the game and losing. Burton went forward in numbers, trying to make things happen, and soon after us scoring, a ball was played across. I think it was Harness was waiting, and he got it on his left foot. He just needs to slot it home and he skies it. What an opportunity for an equaliser. What an opportunity for the headlines and be able to come the Burton hero and say, I scored in the League Cup semi-final against Manchester City, against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, away from home at the Etihad Stadium. And it just goes over, and it's desperately unlucky. And from there, Burton, they've had 2 shots. Had a first shot in the first minute, thought, have a crack, why not? Got it on target, testing Murich's hands. They should have scored. And for 30 minutes, they're in the game. They might be 1-0 behind, but they were making things happen. They were going forward in numbers. They were being aggressive. They were running at Man City's defence, was doing everything that you would expect a Premier League side to do at Manchester City. And they were kind of copying the tactics that Crystal Palace went for when they beat us at the Etihad Stadium. Run at the defence, make things happen, have shots from range, work the ball into space. You've got to be clinical. That's what Crystal Palace were. Burton weren't. But they've not got Crystal Palace's money and Crystal Palace's players to be able to do this. And so it makes it just that little bit more difficult. On 30 minutes, the game's done at 2-0. Leroy Sané goes into space. He tries to score from a Gundogan deep ball played in. It ends up saving from the goalkeeper, rebounding, and something that Jesus weren't very good at Rotherham was being the striker in the right place at the right time. In this game, he was perfect at it, and he's just there just to head it in. And very unusual for Manchester City. Our first 2 goals have come from headers, and we've gone 2-0 up. And like I said, you felt like the game was done. Burton's head dropped. 34 minutes in, Jesus into space this time, turns and manages to slot it in off the post. A good finish. Again, like a striker. It was a lovely time run from David Silva. VAR was involved to see if he was onside. He was onside, squares it across. Jesus doesn't tap it in, decides to turn, work the angle, and manages to get it onto the post and get it in. 3-0, we're all good and shiny and rosy from there. 37 minutes in, it gets worse. Zinchenko into space on that centre-left area that I was on about. So much space in there. You can't be allowing Man City space in there, not like that. But his cross goes in, it is way too deep. It's a bad ball in. but it goes in the net. Just like the Kevin De Bruyne goal against Palace where the ball's too deep, ends up lobbing over the goalkeeper and into the net. It's actually a really tidy finish and a great way for Zinchenko to score his first ever Manchester City goal. I'm not too sure that's how he'd have wanted to have scored it, but congratulations nonetheless to Oleksandr. It must have felt great. Now, just before half-time, there was another VAR incident. This time Ben Turner went through the back of Gabriel Jesus. He's kicked. He goes down. VAR checks after Mike Dean didn't give the penalty, and VAR decided to agree with him. Now, the point I've got with this VAR in action is, to me, it's a penalty, okay? I'm not being biased because I'm a Man City fan. He's gone through the player. He's kicked the player. There's contact with the player's gone down, and he's not won the ball. So it's a foul. But I feel like because it's in the penalty area, the referee's decided it isn't enough to be a penalty. But that's mythical. That's not in the rule books. If it's a foul, it's a foul, whether it's in the penalty area or whether it's not. Now, not got too much of a problem with the VAR in this game because we're 4-0 up. But if it finished 0-0 or we ended up losing the game like Chelsea did in the game before ours, the day before, where there's dubious decisions being made, you're going to feel hard done by. And so for that, I feel like things need changing. What I'd like to see from VAR, before I crack on with the rest of this analysis, is I'd like to see VAR applied like it was at the World Cup, where you've not just got one official making a decision, you've got a few officials in a room, away from the ground, making the decision that's dead neutral, and then if you feel like there's something's happened, like the kick, like the offside, you can say to the referee, we'll send it to the screen, go and have a look, because at the moment you just got the referee stood there for 2 minutes with his finger in his ear, no one knows what's happening. They should show the replays on the big screen like they do in Rugby League, Rugby Union, and the NFL. They've got it spot on. Even cricket. You know, you get to see some decisions being made and you know what's happening and you know things are being reviewed. I mean, they could make a symbol that a review's going in process so everyone knows that VAR's checking, but you know what I mean? You end up with like a double celebration and it kind of kills the atmosphere too. Like I said, it worked perfectly at the World Cup. You knew something was happening. The referee was stopping play. You knew that they were checking. Referee ended up making the right decision. And I'd say 9 times out of 10 at the World Cup, the right decision was made, but that might be because they had competent officials in charge, not the English referees who are inept. And even when they get to watch it on the big screen and watch it numerous times, they're still inept. Shouldn't surprise you. It doesn't me. Anyway, half-time, 4-0, job done, tie done. May as well just go home. Burton is having a real go. Far too attacking in my opinion, but I have every respect for that. They were being picked off, but I have respect for having a go and trying to make something happen. They're trying to get a goal to them, what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the headline, trying to be that player that scores the goal. I understand it, but the defence, it wasn't coping with our midfield. Like Rotherham on Sunday, they can't cope with the quality. When you have David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, you're going to struggle with the quality in dealing with them. But to be honest, it's Gundogan that's pulling the strings in the middle. He's sitting in defensive midfield, but because teams are struggling to get out, he's not having to do as much defensive role, so he's sitting deep and he's been like the deep line playmaker. He's allowing De Bruyne to prime play his balls through, he's allowing David Silva to do his thing, whilst he's just pulling strings with the deep balls, and he's finding the man, I'd say 8 times out of 10. Fantastic from Man City's midfield. I did know I'd like to see Mahrez get involved a little bit more in the second half, try and get a goal and get his confidence up, just like it was with Gabriel Jesus. Now, second half comes in, 57 minutes. There's a lovely 1-2 with Mahrez and David Silva. It sees Mahrez onto his right foot, his weaker foot, puts a cross in. It's a beautiful cross. A lot better Mahrez second half. Beautiful ball in. And Jesus, a brilliant header. Another headed goal. Gabriel Jesus, brilliant header. Gets his hat-trick, well deserved. We're 5-0 up, it's brilliant. Kevin De Bruyne comes off and goes down the tunnel. Pep did say that there wasn't any problems with Kevin De Bruyne. He wasn't even aware that he went down the tunnel, so hopefully, you know, there's no injury there. I'm not expecting to see De Bruyne starting the next game against Wolves, but we're slowly going to ease him in. He's still another 2 or 3 weeks away from full fitness and him being able to play regularly for Manchester City. So he's had a couple of cup runs and he's done brilliantly in both games. It's nice to see him back. 62 minutes in, Man City, they're not stopping there. Another great Gundogan pass. How many times have we said that over the last couple of videos with the analysis? And Jesus, he's one-on-one, has a shot, it's saved, well saved. Eventually finds its way to Phil Foden, who just knocks it home to make it 6, and another goal for Phil Foden, 2 goals in 2 for him. Brilliant. He's starting to get more and more used to the Manchester City first team. Like I said, over the next season, 2 seasons, even 3 seasons, he'll be integrated into Manchester City's squad. Now, 65 minutes in, Leroy Sané is into space, he squares it nicely and gets a beautiful ball right through the legs of the Burton defender on the outside of his foot too. Brilliant assist from Leroy Sané. Finds Jesus, who slots home like a striker. Another goal for Gabriel Jesus therefore, and that's 7-0. Just before that, David Silva was laid on a plate for him. He skies it over the bar. Could well have been 8 this. We could have had double figures if we wanted it. 69 minutes in, it doesn't get any better for Burton. Mahrez is played into space. He plays a first time ball, doesn't even try and control it, just puts it into the box. Who's there? Mahrez gone onto the left hand side, by the way. Who's there? Striker Kyle Walker there with a brilliant finish. He fancied getting in on the goals and does. Ended up getting 8, and from there we've got 21 minutes to try and find 2 because the fans, we wanted 10. 83rd minute, comes in. Bernardo Silva is set away onto the left, squares it for Riyad Mahrez, scuffs his effort, manages just to poke it, and it ends up going into the back of the net. We're 9-0. Good for Mahrez. We've got 7 minutes to try and make something happen. And then towards the end of the game, the ball comes in. Otamendi gets a head in, manages to get it into the ground, but luckily the goalkeeper's there to spare Manchester City getting 10 and the embarrassment of getting double figures. And there we go. It ended up finishing 9-0 and no 10. But we're going to check the stats first before we talk about this game and talk about some of the controversies that's maybe involved in the game. Because honestly, there are people out there talking about Manchester City should have laid off at around 5 or 6 goals to save the embarrassment, and it weren't very professional, which I find just ludicrous, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But stats, Manchester City 74% possession to Burton's 26. I've seen teams have less at the Etihad, I'll be honest. 28 shots for City, 14 on target, 4 shots for Burton, 1 on target. That 1 on target, I presume, is the one where Muric ends up making the save in the first minute. But very clinical, 9 goals from 14 shots on target, that's very good. 818 passes from City, 91 pass completion rate, a lot better stat that than the last few games that we've had with our terms of passes as passing stats. 292 from Burton, 75% pass completion rate. Again, I've seen teams have a lot worse. I was expecting Burton to be hoofing it and be more direct in this game. They weren't. They were passing it out from the back. They were playing some nice football. They were moving men forward into space. They were getting men forward to try and score goals. They were being positive. And they've ended up getting whacked for being positive. I respect what they did though. I have a lot of respect for what they did. And even though it's finished 9-0, I want to wish Burton right now all the best for the season. I respect everything that they did at the Etihad Stadium. It takes a lot of courage to be able to do what they do. Go toe for toe with Manchester City. There's 2 divisions separating these 2 teams. Man City is sitting at the top. Burton Albion are sitting and fighting for playoffs in League One. And they got taught a lesson in this game. But I respect what they did, because a lot of teams would have just sat back, sat deep, and try and stay in the tie for as long as possible, and they didn't do that. I was expecting them to, and they didn't. So, fair credit. Absolutely fair credit. 11 clear-cut chances created by Manchester City. Like I said, it could well have been 10, it could have been 11. If we was extra clinical and we put away our chances that we should have put away, and we put every single one away, I calculated it would have been 11. So, like it says, clear-cut chances 11. We put 9 away. We won't moan about that too much. We put more balls in. Just 4 of our 26 crosses went in that ended up finding the man. But that's because our crosses, when we put them in, they're very deep. And so we're never going to beat Burton's defenders when we've only got small attackers when crosses are going in. What we did so well was the low balls in, like Leroy Sané's assist, for example, for Jesus. Then and Riyad Mahrez doing it a couple of times in the second half as well, and finding the man just putting a low ball in. Because they're allowed space, they could look up. And so if they could look up a little bit more, find the passes and put it through, rather than scoring 2 or 3 goals in a game like we could in Premier League, we could boost that up to 4 or 5. So that's one way for us to maybe target. We've exploited it over the last couple of games against Rotherham and Burton. We'll go up against Premier League teams. We've got Wolves on Monday, for example. Try it against them, see if it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's worked in the last couple of games, so why not? Burton ended up making more dribbles. That's surprising. Yeah, City had more corners, was offside more, we had more recoveries, and they're going to dominate the defensive stats. So yeah, more interceptions, more blocks, more clearances, more headed clearances. Aerial duels, City won more. We're very dominant when it comes to teams putting balls in. I presume that our defensive work, even though we don't work on it that much in training, I presume one thing we do work on is balls being put into the box, because that's one solution that teams have in trying to deal with Manchester City. They'll go out wide, put a cross into the bigger men in the box, the big strikers, the target men, Manchester City need to deal with them. And one person that's brilliant to deal with them, honestly, other than Fernandinho, is Otamendi. And so he had a good game in this game. And I thought Eric Garcia didn't look out of place either. A bit iffy in the first 30 minutes or so in the game, but they've not had a lot of game time. They've never played with each other in a professional game before. Takes a little while to adapt in, but once the team got to grips with it, City got the second goal, and Man City's midfield got to grips with the game. Otamendi and Garcia didn't look out of place, and you know, it's a way forward for us. Now, overall, Wembley, here we come. Brilliant. Kids for the second leg, I'm thinking. Not full kids, I imagine, but there's a fair few players that did alright in the Johnston Paint Trophy, or whatever it's called now, match against Rochdale, where we won 4-2. So I'd like to see maybe 4 or 5 of them players certainly travel down, if they're not going to start, be on the bench and Man City play a second string. This weren't a full-strength team by any means, but we could go even weaker for the second leg. I mean, we're 9 goals up, and so we may as well have a week's rest for all of our main starting 11, mightn't we? And go with players that are wanting more game time, and some of the younger lads too. I see no reason why we can't do that. It'll probably be a lot closer at the Pirelli Stadium. It's sold out. It'll be a good atmosphere. There's no pressure on either team, so it'll be a good game, that. But Jesus, my man of the match for this game. 4 goals, always going to get it, isn't he, when you're scoring 4 goals. Gundogan, brilliant. David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, nice to see him. Also had good games, like I said. Otamendi and Garcia didn't look out of place. Zinchenko, I thought, had a good game on left too. And it was nice to see Mahrez have a strong second half too in this game. But there we go. Nothing to be ashamed of for Burton. I have respect for Clough. I have respect for the players for going for it. I'm happy. I'm disappointed we didn't score 10, because I'd like to see us score 10 for the first time. However, I'm happy for the goalkeeper that he didn't leak 10. And to be honest, it's not the goalkeeper's fault. It's not any of the Burton players' fault. It's just one of them things where they've gone for it. It's just not happened, and Man City have been on their game. When you're playing quality like Manchester City and they're on the game, no team in the world is going to be able to compete. And to be fair, like I said, we beat Championship Rotherham 7-0. We weren't feeling clinical. We was feeling clinical in this game. That's where them extra couple of goals have come from. They can take some a massive amount of respect from me, and I'm sure from other Manchester City fans and players and management too, but they can also take a tremendous amount of pride in that they've had a go, because a lot of teams don't have a go, and I respect that. But it'd be interesting at the Pirelli Stadium. They've got a chance in less than 2 weeks to be able to rectify what's happened, and they know that they could beat the Premier League champions at Pirelli Stadium. Doesn't matter that they've gone out, they've beaten the Premier League champions. That'd be a great coup for them, so that's what their aim will be. So it'll be a difficult, dangerous game, but I am looking forward to our trip to Burton. And for terms of records, it's Pep's joint highest win ever. He also won 9-0 as Barcelona manager in a cup game, and it's Manchester City's biggest win since moving to the Etihad Stadium, and it's also Man City's biggest win since our 10-1 win in the 1980s against Huddersfield in 1987. So in that terms, everyone had a great game. Perfect performance in my opinion. Bring on Wolves. So there we go, it's been the video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it's a long one, but when you scored 9 goals, there's always going to be lots to talk about. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget, leave a big thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who was you impressed with in this game? Who would you like to see start against Wolves? And what was your opinion on that VAR too? So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, press the red button, press the bell, and put your push notifications on to be notified when I've uploaded. You can check out my social media links, Twitter and Instagram. They're in the description below if you want to check out more of JSGC and keep up to date with the latest football and Manchester City news. And I'll see you all again tomorrow for the next Manchester City video. So I'll see you then. So it's been JSGC. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace. Ciao for now.